There is no one path or definition of success. I was someone who felt like because I didn't get a degree in fashion, I didn't go to fashion school, I didn't gain the experience, and I really didn't have anyone to even mentor me in fashion, that one, either I couldn't be a fashion designer at all, or two, if I was a fashion designer, I wouldn't be successful. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ty, and upon viewers' request, I'm going to be taking the time to make a short video for you here to tell you guys a little bit of how I became a self-taught fashion designer and pretty much my journey to getting where I am today. I believe my journey started when I was just a baby. I believe that I was born with the desire to create, and I had that passion of creativity in me, and I used it in so many ways, whether it was through dance, doing hair, fashion, organization. It's just like all types of things, any way that I can really be creative. Writing, like I just loved it, and I've always been very much into fashion and every aspect of fashion, from fashion design to styling to modeling. I mean, just pretty much everything. So it's pretty much fashion, and the love of fashion and just beauty and design and all that kind of stuff and creating has always been in me. Now, I am someone who didn't have anyone in my family who's ever done fashion design, who's ever had a career in fashion, had any desire or any interest in fashion. I felt like I maybe was the only one or whatever. So I don't have no type of history in fashion design or any of that stuff. And I've always been very much into sketching and like drawing out sketches and like drawing hair, and then like trying to draw the makeup on with the lashes, and even creating an outfit, drawing an outfit and all that kind of stuff. And I've always been into that. But I remember my first attempt at actually trying to create something hands-on was when I was 13 years old, and I created a handbag out of a dollar store sewing kit, an old dress, and a cardboard box. And I constructed the handbag. It was like a rectangular shaped handbag with the two long sides and the two short sides, and I had the bottom surface, and I had the cardboard box stuffed in between two bottom pieces, and I hand sewn the entire bag, and I had the handles on it and everything, and I actually carried this bag around. Now to this day, I don't know how I was able to take what I saw in my mind and create it with that handbag. Did it look tacky? I didn't have it like, it did look tacky, yes, but because I didn't have it all like hemmed, like had the edges hemmed and all that kind of stuff. It was definitely still raw edges, but it was constructed and put together. And to this day, I don't know how I was able to do it, but I did it because I never saw anyone sew. I never saw, like, at least hands-on, face-to-face, I never saw anyone sew. I was always watching fashion shows like America's Next Top Model, Project Runway, styling shows, and just like regular fashion shows of like famous designers and stuff. And yeah, I was just pretty much always into fashion. I'm just like, I want to try this. I really want to try this. And when I made that handbag, it's like it's like I acknowledged something in me that was always there, but it was just like something that really sparked something in me from that moment forward, because then I became very, very into wanting to create like everything and wanting to sew everything. And I was only 13 years old, so I was still in school. And I remember going to high school and then going to cosmetology school. This was after my handbag experience, but I remember going to cosmetology school thinking that, oh well, because I'm good at doing hair, then maybe I should go to cosmetology school. I ended up going to cosmetology school and I hated it. I hated it. Like before it was like, okay, I'm really good at this and I'm really into hair and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like, I hated it so much. I knew this was not something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I hated it, and I didn't finish at all. I probably only had a few more credits to get my actual cosmetology license, but I didn't finish it at all because I knew that, and this was just in high school, but I knew that I knew I wasn't going to like enjoy that as a career because of how I was raised and how my parents, pretty much the things that my parents instilled in us. I pretty much knew that, like, even though I entertained it by even looking at fashion schools and stuff like that, I pretty much knew that that was not an option for me. They made it very clear that it wasn't an option for me. So at that point it was just like, okay, I'm clearly not going to be going to fashion school, but this is not something that I want to give up on. Moving forward to college, like once I graduated, I pretty much set my mind on just going to college and getting a degree and following the path because that was my only option at that time, because you know, when you're a child, you're pretty much still under the authority of your parents. You know, let me just honor my parents and go to college and get my degree and all that stuff. So I apply to college, I get to college, and I'm majoring in marketing. And the reason why I chose marketing, because I knew, one, that it was a creative field where I can really be creative, and two, it was a very versatile field. Like I was able to pretty much go in any industry that I wanted to go in and work in marketing. So in the back of my mind, although my parents are saying go to college and get a degree, in the back of my mind I'm still thinking there's still a way that I can get into the fashion industry through this marketing degree through fashion marketing. So it was like, no, it's not fashion design, but it's a step closer, it's somewhere. And the thing is, even though I was in college and I was going down this path that I was told to go down, I still had that seed was still in me for fashion design. Like I still had that seed and that desire for fashion design, and it never went away. So now fast forward, I'm in college. Up to this point I still hadn't got my first sewing machine or none of that stuff, but now I'm literally still hand sewing a lot, just practicing, just trying to create all kinds of things, hand sewing things, like doing refashions, taking old clothes and trying to make something new, and just like changing like the hem of pants, and just like practicing, literally just hand sewing everything, still drawing sketches, still like very into like watching all the Project Runway shows, all the fashion shows and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still in school, you know, in school full time, working a part-time job and doing all that stuff while still holding on to that desire and that seed and that gift I felt was planted in me. Now, my boyfriend at the time, who is my now husband, he saw that desire and that passion in me just from me drawing my sketches and like seeing me, you know, create these things, and like he saw that, and he ended up buying me my very first sewing machine. Yeah, but after receiving my first sewing machine, it sparked another level of hope in me. Like it really put confidence in me to really just go full-fledged, just dedicating myself to just learning the craft of fashion design. It pretty much put me in a place of where I put myself in fashion school, if that makes sense. Like I became so confident in myself that I was like, I'm going to teach myself fashion. Like I'm going to do this. I'm not going to give up on it because I really want to do it. That's when the real journey began, because when I say I was sewing everything, I was studying everything. Like I took it so serious, as if at the time I knew I was going to be a fashion designer. Because at that time my goal wasn't to be a fashion designer. my goal was just to learn the craft of fashion design. Like, I just wanted to learn it just so I can create stuff, because I just love creating. I'm 28 years old now. So from 20 years old all the way up until now, that's what I've been doing non-stop. Like, every single year I've been growing and developing non-stop with my craft, with the craft of fashion design. And I study pretty much everything I can get my hands on. I'm literally watching Project Runway, like, just really like diving and digging into not just the surface, but really digging into techniques that are being used. And even at the time back then, I didn't really know anything about YouTube, so it was just like I was literally learning a lot from making my own mistakes, like literally like trying to create things, failing, and trying to do it again until I got it right. I will keep doing it and doing it and doing it until it came out the way I wanted it to come out. Or I will go to thrift stores, find a piece of clothing that I like, take it apart, put it back together, just so I can see the construction and the pattern. And like I said, I never stopped like attempting to create anything, like at all, ever since at 13 years old when I created that handbag. I think it has always just been it. Going to college is something that I never regret doing. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the way I've learned the craft of fashion design was in a way that I feel like I probably wouldn't have been able to learn in fashion school, because I feel like, just like with college, it's like with the teachers, they're very strict. You have to do it this way, you have to learn it this way, do it this way, and this is how it's supposed to be. I've learned it by literally studying, reading books, studying, watching other people's techniques, studying other people's techniques, and making it my own. And I made it my own by continuously practicing and practicing and practicing, and creating and creating and creating, and not being afraid to mess up, not being afraid for it to come out looking crazy, and then look at it again and okay, let's attempt it and do it again. Like, making multiple attempts to have it coming out the way it should come out. My fashion school experience has been well over your normal 4-year college experience, or however long people are in fashion school. I don't have no idea, but I've been learning for a very, very long time, and I'm continuously learning. I'm continuously learning. I'm never not learning, and I never stop learning. So I'm in school all the time. If you really want me to be honest, when it comes to fashion, I'm in school all the time. The great thing about me having my degree in marketing is the fact that I'm able to see it from the business side. I'm able to work from the business side of fashion, as well as through my hard work and dedication to learning the craft of fashion design. I'm able to actually be creative and work on the creative side of fashion design. But me now being a business owner, I'm able to literally operate and run my whole entire company right now, because if you really want to be honest, you won't have the luxury of affording to bring a whole bunch of people in when you're starting off. You know, it's good to know both sides when you are working in fashion, because you're running a company, you're trying to run a company and build a brand while also being a creative, who's trying to be a fashion designer and make the patterns and the styling and creating the photo shoots or whatever the case may be, or whatever. So you really have to be business minded and creative. And going to school and getting my marketing degree and getting that experience, like, it really helps me now, and it really plays a major part in how I'm able to do so much and actually get so much stuff done in a professional way that don't cost professional money. I actually had gotten a job offer within the field of marketing that was nowhere in the plans of what I was trying to do with my marketing degree, but it was a great opportunity. It was definitely a great opportunity, and it was a great start in my career. It probably would have set the path of my career in marketing, not in the field that I would have wanted it to be in, but I mean, it looked really, really good on paper. But because I knew I had already had plans and goals, not only for myself, but with my now husband. At the time, we were still just boyfriend and girlfriend, but we had already set goals for ourselves and a path for ourselves. I turned that job down. And I don't regret to this day turning that job down, because I know it would have taken me down a path far from where I am today. I wouldn't be married with 2 beautiful kids, working my dream job, like, at all. I would be miserable working in a field that I do not like, using my degree, yes, which I'm using my degree even though it's not in a formal setting of like a corporate office or whatever, but I'm still using my degree or whatever. And I would be using my degree in some corporate office somewhere and probably very successful in that, but I probably would not be happy at all. It's like, I know that was what my parents wanted me to do, but that was never my goal for myself. And one thing about college is that it gave me the boldness to finally start living for myself, because I was now forced to live and like make decisions on my own and do things for myself, to where I now established a direct relationship with God to directly direct me down a path that He desired for me, versus me choosing a path that I was told to go on by other people, or doing things that other people were telling me to do. That really helped me in choosing and making the right decisions when it came to distractions like job offers that may have looked good on paper at that time, but in the long run, it would not have been good for me, period. Within 2 years, a lot of major things were happening. Like, we graduated, we got engaged, we got married, and then we had our first child. Pretty much like a year after we got married, we had our first child, and we moved states as well. And I had a full-time job. My husband at the time hadn't quite found anything in his field, so he was just working like a small part-time job. And at the time where I was working my full-time job, I was pregnant with my son at the time or whatever. So when I went on maternity leave with my son, I wasn't planning on quitting my job, because at that time, because my husband only had a part-time job, he had just started his company, his training company, so his company was still very small. He didn't have too many clients or whatever. I pretty much felt like it was going to be impossible for me to quit my job. So my whole mindset wasn't really to quit my job. I actually went on maternity leave or whatever, and when I got on maternity leave, I realized that I didn't want to leave my son. Like, I couldn't leave my son. And I pretty much just communicated that with my husband, and he didn't panic. He didn't like, nah, we can push it off to next year or whatever. He didn't do any of that. He pretty much just said, okay, we're gonna make it happen. And that was pretty much over 4 years ago, and for now over 4 years I have been a stay-at-home mom, and he has pretty much made everything happen. He's still making things happen, and like, everything is really, really good. And the great thing about that is, because when I became a stay-at-home mom, that's when I got the opportunity to really grow in my craft. Like, I was just creating all the time, so I was always making things for my son, making things for myself, just sewing on my downtime. Like, that was my stress reliever. Getting to the point where my hobby turned into a business, it all started when I became a stay-at-home mom. I would create my son bow ties, and he would just like have some of the cutest little fashionable bow ties, and we would go out and, you know, go places or whatever, and a lot of people would ask, oh, where did you get his bow tie? Once people started asking me about some of the things that I was making for my son or whatever, and I would let them know, oh, I made it, that's when that transition from me just making things for myself and my son started to become me making things for other people. And then word was getting around to where people were telling other people, oh, I know someone who can make that for you. And next thing you know, I'm literally like making things for so many people. I mean, I had an opportunity to actually create a bow tie out of guitar picks and electrical wiring. Like she had a son who loved guitars, and she literally sent me a picture. It was no way for him to purchase that bow tie, so I created it for him by just looking at the picture or whatever. And that was like such a fun, amazing opportunity, because it took me outside my creative zone to go from sewing actual clothing to actually creating a work of art of clothing out of something that I would never even think to create. That's pretty much how it all started. Like, I would literally wear something, or my son would be wearing something, and people would ask, where did you get it? And I would say, I made it. And then next thing you know, I'm making stuff for other people. That became my hobby. That was like a nice little side income that I started to bring in just from making things for people out of word of mouth. I mean, I was making things for people's family members who lived in other states or whatever, because it's like, once I did something for one customer, then that one customer's word of mouth would then lead to another client or whatever. And it was like, there's one thing about one of my professors in school, he always said a lot of people like to try to use so much advertisement and social media and all that kind of stuff to market a lot of things, but the best form of marketing is word of mouth, because word of mouth is more personable. Like, people really trust the word of someone else versus trusting an advertisement that they see on television. That's pretty much how my clientele grew. My clientele grew from word of mouth marketing. I wasn't promoting myself on social media. Even at this time, I had a blog, a writing blog, like a mommy blog. It had none of my fashion stuff on that blog or whatever. I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything to even present myself or as a fashion designer. From that point or whatever to last year, last year was when I actually launched my very first collection. And that was my transition from being that hobby, like that hobby designer, I guess, or that hobby creative, to actually now owning my own company, managing my own business, creating my own products, and not what other people wanted me to create, but creating my own stuff. All of these sketches that I've been drawing for so many years, and all of these things that I've always just been wanting to create or whatever. It's just like, you know what, it's now my time to like really start creating what I want to create. So that's what inspired me to just go for it and just launch my first collection, launch my very own collection. And then I started YouTube. I started this YouTube channel and showing my creations and showing how I create and all that kind of stuff. And when I say it's just like a form of therapy for me. I went above and beyond, studying things beyond fashion. Like, I love watching like old movies just to look at the fashion, and like watching modeling shows just to look at how the models, like, you know, because I look at models as artists. I mean, they are like art. Like, you know, they have to model the fashions and like really, like, how would a model wear this design or whatever. And styling, I watched styling shows because I wanted to know everything about fashion. So I watched styling shows. I wanted to understand how to be stylish and fashionable and not just be a fashion designer, but I should also be stylish. I love watching documentaries of other cultures and other countries just to look at their, you know, their fashions and stuff like that. You may not be able to travel around the world, but there's a way that you can get to know and see some of the different cultural things by just watching documentaries and like the Discovery Channel, the History Channel and stuff like that. I'm very much into painting. I love painting or whatever. So that's a form of me definitely like exercising my creativity, is painting. I definitely consider myself a lifelong learner. I taught myself to do a lot of things. When I put my mind to do something, I make it happen. It's possible. It is possible to teach yourself fashion. It's possible to really like grow in that craft and maybe become something beyond what you would ever think. It's been a year since I launched my first collection, and from last year to this year, I've grown so much just within that 1 year time frame. I definitely wanted to be a well-rounded, all-around type of And that's the crazy thing about it, is like now that I feel like I'm calling myself a fashion designer, I still like see myself as someone who just loved the craft. Like I just love the craft, so I literally wanted to learn everything about the craft. And one thing that I can say is that I took my time when growing in the craft. Like I didn't force myself to learn something that I wasn't ready to learn. Like if you just started sewing yesterday, you shouldn't attempt to go try to create a Dior gown, you know, like no, you want to definitely take your time. You don't want it to be a microwave type of development. You want it to be more like a crock pot type of development, to where it takes a little bit longer, but the length of that time that you know how a crock pot is, that when that food is in that crock pot, all those seasonings come together, and it's like the meat is so tender and everything is just so yummy and tasty and flavorful. Versus the microwave, you have it either undercooked or overcooked, burnt edges on the side and all that kind of stuff, and it's just not even healthy or even good for you at all either, or whatever. So it's like you really want to take your time to develop in your craft and learn, grow, practice, create. Don't be afraid to create. Don't be afraid to attempt. You definitely want to really focus on your quality. You really want to focus on the quality of your work. Don't be so stressed over the quantity of people or the quantity of fans, you know, that you have. Like if you focus on your quality, the quantity will come. I actually had a customer, a client, who ordered something from my online store. She ended up being a fashion blogger, and she had contacted me, and we now have a very like a nice professional relationship. But she contacted me and she was like, you know, I have so many people who's asking about these pieces that you made me, and I wanted to give them your information and all that stuff, and you know, and she's like, there's so many people who's waiting for your new line to come out and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like feeling the pressure, like, oh my gosh, I need to get this stuff out. But my husband would tell me, no, don't do that. Don't stress yourself out over trying to get something out just because there's a lot of people wanting it. And he was like, you need to make sure that it is right for you before you present it to anyone else, because if you don't like it, then what makes you think someone else will? So make sure that, you know, before you present anything, that you make sure that it is to your standard. You take your time to develop it and then present it to the world. That's been my journey from that 13-year-old girl who hand sewn her first handbag all the way up into where I am now. And the crazy thing about now is that I'm a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. So I definitely am a busy woman. Like I'm a busy woman. I'm constantly going and going. I'm literally constantly going. And at the end of the day, I love it. I love the fact that I look forward to waking up every single day to start my day. I look forward to getting up in the morning, being able to wake up to my children knowing that mommy is going to direct their day, and teaching them, being the one who's hands-on teaching them, and still having the ability to develop a company and develop a brand for myself and do something for myself, along with also helping my husband, being that supportive wife and running the business side for my husband, and just like doing the marketing and the creative things for him and his all the things and the vision that he has for his company. Like I'm doing all these things, and I'm still making time to still do what I love to do. It's possible to do that. I feel like if you're young and you don't have kids and you're not married, there's no excuses. There's no excuses. Don't let the fact that you don't have money to go to school or go to fashion school be an excuse. Don't let that be the reason why you don't. You can go to the dollar store, get you a sewing kit, and go to the thrift store, cut some stuff up and create something new, and go sell it online somewhere. There's so many resources now that you can literally you can be an artist and be creative and get your work out there to where somebody can find it and want to buy it. And I'm going to do a video on that too, on how I pretty much have things set up to where I'm bringing in income from multiple platforms when it comes to the pieces that I make and the things that I make, whether it's from my YouTube tutorials to my samples that I make for like my patterns, or samples that I'm making for like any creative idea that I might have. Like, I sell those things. I don't just create those things and just leave them sitting there. Like, literally some of my favorite designers, they never went to fashion school. They have become very successful in fashion. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and close out this video. I believe I covered everything that I wanted to cover, but I want you guys to be looking forward to my new vlog series that I decided to do because I see that it's a lot of you guys who are very interested in this self-taught journey. So I want to take you guys behind the scenes of pretty much what I do on a daily when it comes to pretty much my life as a fashion designer. And what I do on a daily, and behind the scenes of some of the projects that I'm working on. So maybe it can inspire you guys and show you guys that it's possible. I mean, I literally run every aspect of my business. I create my own logos, I manage my own website, create my own website, create my own patterns, make my own clothing. Like, I've developed everything from the bottom up, from scratch, on my own. It's possible. It's definitely possible. You don't have to have a whole ton of money to get started and to really like just go full force into, you know, launching whatever it is that you're trying to launch. And I just want to kind of give you guys some tips and kind of show you guys some of the things that I do. So all right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Remember to never give up on your gift. Always be beautifully you. Embrace every part of you, and be blessed, guys. Bye.